knew I should love this job. It was at this sexy digital agency, exposed brick. You could bring your dogs to work. It seemed like it would be amazing. I could walk to work. I started the gig on a Monday, and every single day I felt more and more depressed. My job was managing client accounts for hair care products, which I don't know or care about. And so by Friday, I found myself sitting in a windowless conference room on a 4-hour conference call. And I remember thinking, this cannot be it. I can't live my life in a windowless room and talk about hair care products for 4 hours. And thankfully, we had a 10-minute break halfway through this conference call. And I was kind of on autopilot, and I walked to my desk and I packed up my bags and I turned out my lamp. And then I remembered I needed to tell somebody I wasn't going to come back. I was going to walk out the door and leave. And I talked to my new boss and I said, this is not for me. I don't want to spend my days like this. And do you know what he said to me?
Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced. The best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hello, everyone. It's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat podcast. This last year has taught us many, many lessons and continues to teach us lessons. Challenges are certainly all around us and have been for some time. We're all learning a whole lot, growing a whole lot, thinking a whole lot. And there are challenges and obstacles all around us, but there are absolutely are also opportunities that are around us for us individually, and then certainly with the teams and organizations that we serve, opportunities to see things differently, to grow, to develop, and to think about, well, how do we navigate our way through all of this? So I'm more convinced than ever that authentic leadership and leaders that are expanding and growing and developing compelling cultures are as needed now as ever in the world. And so thanks to everybody out there who's been joining, who has joined into this journey. If you've been one of those people that's been a part of the podcast from day one, then thank you for continuing to be a part of this and listening. If you're somebody who is just now jumping in, then I invite you to go back and listen to seasons 1 through 3. So there's some great stuff and great interviews and all that kind of stuff in there. So welcome. Thanks to everybody out there who shares, who rates, 5 stars, of course, reviews, amplifies. These are all of the ways, as much as I hate saying that, these are the ways that this stuff helps get shared all around the world. So anybody that takes the time to do that, I very much appreciate that. So the good, positive messages can be shared around the world. I am very excited to invite my guest in for today in the chat in just a minute. I'm lucky on this podcast. Again, if you're a loyal listener, you know this. I'm lucky to have on this podcast, friends of mine, colleagues, thought leaders, literally from all around the globe that have joined me in this podcast and this conversation about authentic leadership and culture and development over the years. And today I am excited to have somebody who happens to be from my hometown, which is really cool to me. I've known Regan Walsh for many years, and I adore her family. I love her brother, Mike. I know him the best, but I love their entire family. I would describe Regan before even doing this kind of thing. I would describe her as, at least from my observation, somebody who is fun, somebody who is thoughtful, and also somebody who is brave. And I think part of that bravery has come out in her career life and the things that she's been involved in with very cool, fascinating stuff, which in the show notes you'll see. If you check out reganwalsh.com, you'll see more of what she's done career-wise. But her most recent journey has now been as an executive coach and life coach who finds joy and fulfillment in helping women worldwide lead lives that sizzle. I like that. Lead lives that sizzle. She has her first book, Heart Boss, that is launching literally today. And so I am honored and excited to help her launch the book And so to support that, and more importantly, the spirit behind this book. So welcome, Regan Walsh.
Jason, it's so fun to be here. And do you know where we first met? Because I remember clearly, but I want to know if you know.
I don't know if I can remember the exact moment, but now I'm really intrigued. So please.
So it was Camp Akita.
Okay.
And we met on the basketball court outside of the lodge. And I just thought there was no better ball player than Jason Barger. And I think you were a grade or two above me. I was like, if I could be that good someday, like that was my goal. So I remember it vividly. Yeah. Oh, and now you coach kids, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I'm coaching a very challenged fifth grade group of girls. We're having a lot of fun. We're learning a lot. But we're taking it on the chin quite every weekend from other teams. But we've got a great group of kids that are fun to coach. And I didn't remember that's the first time that we met.
Yeah, we both. I think I was in sixth grade.
Okay, wow. We go back all the way to then, which is cool. Well, I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. Excited about your book that is launching literally today, Heart Boss. Again, I'm not just having you on the pod because I've known you evidently since the sixth grade and since that moment at Camp Akita, but I'm having you because I also think that the idea and certainly the spirit behind the work that you're doing is important and cool stuff. And so tell us a little bit about first, before we even get into Heart Boss, I'm say the experience of writing a book. As somebody who's done that now a number of times, I know, and if you aren't somebody who's ever written a book, then you wouldn't necessarily know this. So listeners right now that enjoy books and are glad people write books, but if you've never gone through the process to create, to put your name on something, to share it with the world and kind of be vulnerable and launch it out there for anybody to either like it or say bad things about you, then that is an interesting experience. So how have you been with the birthing and creation and launching of this baby of yours?
So I would say the birthing, getting ready, writing the outline, this idea came to me back when I was in my late 20s and now I'm in my mid 40s. So it's been a process and it's been on my heart forever. It's been so fun. And now I am so terrified. So it's interesting. I've been like ready. And then the weeks leading up to launch day, I've been getting more and more nervous for what you just said. Like people will celebrate it. People will criticize it. And that's, feels pretty heavy when you're excited about this work that you're putting out, but know it can be received in so many different ways. So I'm feeling really nervous, but optimistic that the right, readers will get the right message.
Yeah. And I certainly don't ask that question to put even more tension into you or to make you think about that or to scare you in any way, but really to just raise up and to be a voice of support and excitement for you, because I also know how important it is to have people along the way that also say, hey, congrats, because it's a huge accomplishment to have and to be sharing that in the world. And also the positive side of that is you will find that there will be people that this will really resonate with, that need to hear what you wrote, and that what you wrote will really mean something to a lot of people. And so thanks for sharing it.
Oh, well, thank you. And I think that's the key, right? Like, so if it's on your heart and you feel compelled to write it, you know that there's somebody that needs to hear it. And so I think when you think about it from that mindset, it makes it a little bit easier to put it out there.
Yeah. And I think obviously, at least this is what my process has been in the past, is once you can get over the hurdle of, again, that it's not about you, even though you're the one that has written it. But if these are messages that resonate with you as a human, and then you're daring enough to share them with other people, that there are probably other people out there in the world that maybe these messages will resonate with, because if they've authentically resonated with you and that you felt compelled and worthy to share them, then so there's other people out there that will too.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think, when you have the courage to share, I talk about topics that I had shame about. Right. And so when you have the courage to share your shame, right, then it takes away the power. And then now it's like, oh, that really isn't that big of a deal anymore now that I've talked about it.
So tell us about Heart Boss. Why this book, and what about this book? Like, if you had to describe it to somebody in a quick kind of description, I have now that I'm 90 pages in, so I was lucky to get a pre-copy from you, but I'm and loving it, by the way. But I'm 90 pages in, and so I've got my ideas of kind of how I would describe what it's about. But why this book, and give us a little kind of description from you.
Sure. So Heart Boss is truly for the woman that is trying to do and be all things to all people. So she's probably a mom. She could be climbing a corporate ladder, running a business. She's serving on boards. She's, volunteering in her community. When it's not COVID, she's Pinteresting, cupcakes for the class party. She's probably organizing something like that for like home drop-offs for the entire class. And she's exhausted. And she's simultaneously overwhelmed and underwhelmed, right? So she's overwhelmed with everything on her plate. But when she looks at her life, she's saying, is this it? Right? And she's asking the question. She thinks she's finally, gotten everything she ever wanted. And she's not that into her life. So my hope is that Heart Boss is me extending a hand for that woman to step off the hamster wheel and to really reclaim her life. And so I talk about what it's like to suffer from perfection or pleasing, how to dial up guts and be brave. And my hope is to guide her to really reclaim her life.
No, that's great. I again, 90 pages in, but that's what has resonated with me, or at least is that I've seen the way you're connecting with the reader and the messages that you're putting out there, and the image, at least, that I think the hamster wheel is a good one. But what I hear you talking about is instead of just living this life that somehow we think we're supposed to live, and or going through that kind of race every day to accomplish things, and or the way in which we think our lives is supposed to be laid out for us, my language would be kind of stepping back and thinking with intention around, well, what are the values that I truly have? And then to be thinking about living a life of design rather than just kind of what is the life that somebody thinks that I ought to live, or somehow that I've been programmed to think I'm supposed to live, of kind of stepping back intentionally and really processing what are those values, and then what is that life of design that I want to live, which of 100%. Course resonates with me.
Yeah. And in my language, it's shedding the shoulds, right? So it's the woman that says yes because she feels that she should, whether it's programming from how she was raised or, just wanting to please people. And once you have the courage to step back and shed those shoulds, that's the game-changing moment, right, in life, when instead of asking the question, is this it? You're like, oh man, this is it. And you feel excited and fueled with purpose and passion for the things that matter most. Yeah, no, I love it. I love that language too, the shedding of the shoulds. I think, because everybody can relate at least to this idea of the things, the narratives we tell ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves in our own heads, of the things we think we're supposed to do or should do, and yet being able to let go of those and say, beyond the things that I think I should do, what is it that I truly want to do, and what lights me up, and what direction do I want to go, which I think is great. I agree. And also the thing with shoulds is that we think other people want us to do these things. In reality, other people aren't thinking about us the way we think they're thinking about us, right? No one cares. Yeah. But we put this pressure on that doesn't even exist. It's self-induced. It's wild. Yeah, I heard somebody once say that, when everybody walks into a room, that oftentimes what everybody's thinking is they're looking around at everybody else in the room, and they're thinking, oh, what is that person thinking of me, and what are they thinking of me? And then eventually, the person that was sharing this is, you know what they're thinking about? They're thinking about themselves, and they're wondering what you think about them. And everybody around the room is doing the same thing of looking around the room. And the reality is that everybody has some sense. Some maybe healthier than others, but this comparison game, this looking around, what does somebody else want me to do? What am I supposed to do? And yet I like that you get to that question of, no, what do you, in some, feeling of what you should do, but what is it that you truly want to do? And where are you, where's the energy for you, and what's that going to look like? Yeah, I love that story about walking into the room. It's so true. Everybody has their own head trash in their brain, and they're thinking about what you're thinking about them. I love that.
Yeah. So tell me, for the book, what is a part of the book that was really easy to write, and that really, whether it was a message, whether it's a story, whether it's what about the book was really easy to write, and you're excited in kind of a proud way to share it, and what about the book maybe was challenging for you to write, and or it makes you a little nervous that sharing it?
Would you like me to start alphabetically? There's a lot that scares me.
Yeah.
We'll start with what was easy and exciting. So easy and exciting, I share a story about how I got my favorite nickname, which is 1 Week Walsh. And I had started a job on a Monday, and I knew I should love this job. It was at this sexy digital agency, exposed brick. You could bring your dogs to work. They had bowls of candy. It seemed like it would be amazing. I could walk to work. I started the gig on a Monday, and every single day I felt more and more depressed. My job was managing, client accounts for hair care products, which I don't know or care about, right? And so by Friday, I found myself sitting in a windowless conference room on a 4-hour conference call. And I remember thinking, this cannot be it. Is this it? I can't live my life in a windowless room and talk about hair care products for 4 hours. And thankfully, we had a 10-minute break halfway through this conference call. And I was kind of on autopilot. And I walked to my desk and I packed up my bags and I turned out my lamp. And then I remembered I needed to tell somebody I wasn't going to come back. I was going to walk out the door and leave. And I talked to my new boss and I said, this is not for me. I don't want to spend my days like this. And do you know what he said to me?
I have no doubt that there will be time in the near future, I'm not sure when, but where there will be power in congregating again, power in bringing your whole team together, your entire company and organization together in one space for that powerful keynote speech, that discussion that has to happen as a team, an entire organization about leadership and culture and mindset. But until then, we are in a virtual world. And so if I can add value to your team, your company, or organization through a virtual keynote speech, or just helping your team and organization have the conversation that's the currency for change that you need to be having internally, I hope you'll track us down and let us know how we can be helpful at jasonvbarger.com.
I don't want to spend my days like this. And do you know what he said to me?
No.
He said, I am so jealous. I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And I left that office. I walked through the park that was between, my condo and this office. And there was this man dressed as a clown riding a unicycle. And I was like, you know what? It's 11:30 on a Friday morning. This guy is riding a unicycle. I can quit a job during a recession and land on my feet. And that's exactly what I did. And for me, that was such a big win in my life personally, to have the courage to say, you know what, this is not for me. I was craving something drastically different. And I spent the time to figure out what that was, and I got it, right? And so that was a really fun, easy story to share. Also sharing stories, from my first chapter after college and working in New York City and living in Hoboken, and some of the relationships and the adventures we had, it just brought up so much joy to relive that again. So I would say those are some of the highlights. Certainly writing about my father who's passed away, and I know you can, resonate with what that's like. It was fun to share stories about my dad, because so many people have never had the opportunity to meet him in my adult life, because he passed when I was 22. And in terms of what was hard, it was, things that I feel shame about. So things, from childhood, admitting that I had challenges in school and I always felt less than, and I had learning disabilities, that felt uncomfortable to share. Sharing about a failed marriage felt uncomfortable. Sharing about what, the relationship I got into after that failed marriage, that felt uncomfortable, and is a plot twist for many. And so, it feels so important though to share that, because I don't want other people to feel shame or feel that they need to hide their stories, because had I not gone through those challenges and had relationships that were failures or plot twists or whatever, I wouldn't be living the life I'm living today, which I'm so proud of. And I'm so in love with my life, right? I used to daydream about the life I'm living now when I was in, different situations. And so it was challenging. I'm nervous about sharing those stories, but I'm also really proud that I'm not holding back.
Yeah. And I think it's evident to see in that story that, just as you said, that each one of those experiences was leading you to another experience. And some of which, I mean, again, each person can come to their own conclusion on how you judge failure versus success. But you were learning something through all of those experiences, whether or not you in your head say, oh, that was a failure, or whether it was that didn't turn out the way that I hoped it would. And actually, I'm pivoting now to say, that's not what I actually want. And this isn't the job, or this isn't the kind of relationship, or this isn't the type of work that I want to be doing in the world. And so rather than it just being oh, shoot, that is one isolated failure, it truly is about that. Well, that enabled you to realize that, to learn, to grow, develop, and then have the courage to say, I'm not going to just sit here. I'm going to move to the next choice that I'm going to make. And so each one of those, at least as I read through it, and I'm seeing that kind of transition. That, of course, all of us have different examples of that in our lives, but one thing helped lead to the next thing, and helped prepare you for the life that now you're lucky to be getting to live right now.
I mean, Jason, I'm not kidding. When I think about the alternative of what if I hadn't spoken up, what if I hadn't, shared what I was really feeling? Yeah. It makes me sick to my stomach. And so, you deserve to live a life that you're excited about and that you're proud of. And sometimes that requires difficult decisions. I'm so grateful for those choices. And I'm so glad I'm not, stuck in that story that wasn't serving me.
Yeah. And I think part of that, again, for my listeners and folks that are tuning into this and are oftentimes returning to this podcast because they're thinking about the way that they navigate through their own lives, and also thinking from a leadership perspective. And leadership meaning not in the sense of just having a fancy title of leadership, but leadership in the sense that we're all, somebody's always watching what we're doing and taking their cues off of how we show up and how we move, that those kinds of things that we all have a choice, and the choices that we make and the courage that then we show when we say, you know what, I don't think I have to live exactly in this one way, that I can make a different choice. Or even if I'm in a job right now or on a team that it isn't the most enjoyable thing right now, that I don't have to just sit there and be quiet, that I can begin to say, well, what role do I play in whatever that next choice is? And every time we show that courage or make a different choice, that actually sets a temperature for the people around us and actually liberates other people in this sense of being able to say, oh yeah, I'm not stuck here. And I remind teams and organizations all the time that we're not, I know that there are people in the world that are in awful situations where literally they may be stuck, right? But for most people in the world, you're not stuck. And sometimes we're imprisoned by our own minds as to what we're capable of doing or not capable of doing. But all of us share in the creation of whatever that experience is that we're having. But we've got to be willing to either make the choice, though. What is it we want, and what are we willing to do about it?
Yeah, something I write about in the book, and I talk about a lot in my work, is what you aren't changing, you're choosing, right? Yeah. And so in that moment, whether it was leaving the job or leaving the relationship or, whatever it was that I was leaving, I decided to choose joy and to choose, a life that felt transformative and exciting. And so I do like to remind people, what you aren't changing, you're choosing. So you do have a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
To shift in your life.
The other thing that resonated with me, and certainly you just referenced it a few minutes ago, is both you and I have lost parents, and at again, depending on how you judge when is early in life or late in life or whatever, earlier than we both thought. I've lost both my parents and didn't think that at this stage in life that they would both already be gone, but they have. And I know that the way that you write about your dad is so beautiful, and talking about what he meant to you. How does that, just from somebody that also has been through this, is interesting to me, is how does that stay with you today, and how does that actually impact the way that you think about even the work that you do in the world?
Mm-hmm. So how I think about, or it impacts me in the work that I do, is just, my dad was an entrepreneur. He started a business. He rooted fiercely for other people. And so it's interesting, like I can still hear my dad aggressively cheering for Ohio State Buckeye games. For example, like he had this signature clap, he had giant hands, and he would clap his hands and stomp his foot. And I carry that with me, like that joy and that fierce belief. Yeah. And so I think that is what has propelled me in my business, is knowing like he's part of that belief that I carry through my clients. And that means something. I wrote about how this unexpected gift of running into people that knew him through my work. So a big part of the work, as you know, that I do is keynote speaking. And so there have been moments where I've shared a story about my dad. I've talked about his business, and there's been somebody in the audience that said, "You're Leah Walsh's daughter. He made a profound impact on my life." And that just like keeps you going. And for me to be able to share stories about my dad with, like my husband's never met him. Most of my closest friends have never met him. It just means the world that they get to see the insight, because I was fortunate. I had a really great dad, right? So I had a supportive, loving dad that was really engaged in my life until the day he died. And so I'm just so proud to be able to share what kind of man raised me, and hope that it will help others, choose good and to choose to support the communities that they love as he did with our community.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And it's obvious through the way that you write about him that impact is not only did it have on you, but is still having on you. And I know, again, from somebody who uniquely is also in a situation where I've lost parents, to know that that's how lucky you are. And as I would say too, and my listeners may know this or may not, but that my lucky to have parents that were those cheerleaders, were those people that believed in you, and then from a very early age helped you think about ways in such a healthy and positive way, and challenged. I know my parents challenged me, but in very creative and in real kind of ways that were always aimed at bringing out the best in me. And how lucky you are then to have had parents like that for whatever stretch amount of time is you're lucky to get to have them. So I think it's really cool, and I really enjoyed reading about your dad.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it means a lot. And as I remember when he died, my brother Mike's best friend said, "Welcome to the Dead Dad Club." And I was just like, I don't really want to be part of that club. Can I give back the membership? And it's hard, right? And, I'm grateful. My mother's 85 and she's still with us, but you just never know. But I think to be able to celebrate and to know that we were raised by such amazing humans, how lucky us.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, everywhere I go and everybody I talk to, that just, not everybody gets to have that story, and certainly more than not, unfortunately, didn't have the people around them that were cheering them on or supportive in the way that been lucky to experience in my own life. So, especially grateful for that, for sure. So one of the things you talk about too in your book is ask for what you need. Ask for what you need. I like that, and that obviously is it's not a complex idea, but it's such a powerful thing to say, well, what is it that I need? What is it that I need in this moment? Well, what are you hoping, what do you need right now? When you think about this, like what are you, for your own life and for your own career? What are you hoping for?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I hope, I thought you were going to ask this question in a different light, which I was all prepared to answer. What I need is people to root back for me, right? So I'm launching a book today and I'm terrified. And I hope people will buy it. I hope they will share. I hope they will review all of the things that you said up front in your podcast. Yeah. Those are so important to authors, right? As well as podcasters. So I think when it comes to asking for what I need, it's for people to join this celebration and to share the book and the message with their friends and to, buy a copy for your best friend because she'll benefit from it. So certainly that's what I need. I would like to talk about ways other people can ask for help because it's a theme I've seen with so many of my clients. I have 8 women in a group program right now, and all of them are horrible about asking for help, right? And that could be asking for a raise. It could be asking for time off. It could be asking support from your husband to help with the kids, right? It could be asking for an introduction to somebody that, I know and they want to know. It's so important to have the courage to ask for what you need because people do want to help you, but they can't if they don't know where it is you're trying to go. So I want to have my book on everybody's bedside table. That's where I'm trying to go. And how you can do that is by buying a copy and then reviewing it, right, on Amazon. And then always asking, I love to ask people, where are you trying to go or what is it you need? And I kind of keep that in my mental filing cabinet so I can connect people. I think being curious and asking people what it is they need is a great way to show up for colleagues, friends, neighbors, whoever, and to help them get there.
Yeah, no, I the reason why I asked the question is because I know that firsthand, that experience of, again, launching something and sharing your thoughts. And again, this is more than just a book. I know that I know, especially when I launched my first book, it wasn't about a book. It was about this stories and this spirit and this ideas that I was, for whatever crazy weirdo was compelled to share with the world. And anytime somebody would say, how can I help? How can I help? I remember not being all that good of just saying, I just want to share these ideas. So I don't know, help share the ideas, I guess. But the reality is one of the ways that you help is that you say, all right, well, I need you to help buy it, share it, give it to other people. If this is authentic to you, and if this is a spirit that is meant to be spread in the world, then be somebody to help do that. And so, I hate on these podcasts or in social media posts or asking people to do stuff that's not authentic for me at all. And yet, what is authentic with me is just sharing ideas and thoughts that I think resonate with me and with the world. And yet, what I know, the ecosystem that we're in, the way those ideas and those messages are shared is when other people begin to say, hey, this is an idea worthy of sharing. This is a book that somebody ought to know about it. This is a message that ought to be, commented on, liked, shared, whatever the thing is. And all of the way the algorithms work is that's how things get shared. And so I ask that for you in support of you because I know that is a challenging, a weird thing to ask people of. But oftentimes when people are saying, how can I help? Well, that's one of the ways you can help.
To have something specific to share, right? Other than, I don't know, or, thanks for asking. And, I'm with you on the social media stuff. And one of my friends was like, you are the worst saleswoman I have ever met. I tried to hire you as my coach and you said I didn't need a coach. I needed a nanny. And I was like, but I was right. She's like, I was trying to hire you and you've deflected. How often do you do that? I'm like, pretty often, right? Because it's just, it's uncomfortable sometimes. And you want, people to authentically share when it feels good. But it also is important to remind people that stuff matters, right? Sharing your message matters to you and to me. And all of those things.
Yeah. And I would say it matters to the world. Again,
you're right.
The more people that we have in the world that are authentically sharing messages that are meaningful to them, and doesn't mean they're going to be meaningful to everybody, but they are authentic, they are real, and they have value to somebody else in the world, then those are the kind of messages that we ought to be a part of celebrating and sharing and supporting of one another. And so the more people that are out there doing it, then great. And it doesn't mean you have to think that all my ideas are great or that resonate with you or that are the best, but an ecosystem of people that are supporting one another and celebrating one another and saying, hey, I want to help bring out the best in you and what it is that you have to share with the world. That is one that is compelling to people. And, all kinds of statistics and studies and research and surveys will tell us that people are looking for meaning. People are looking for to show up to whatever job, whatever role they're in right now, the life that they have, and are trying to say, how do I design and continue to create the life that I truly want? And the more of us that are entering and celebrating each other and supporting that, I think it's not only good for whoever it is that created, but it's good for the world.
Am I allowed to ask you where we can support you? If you were to ask for what you need, what would that be? It's hard for me to not ask questions as a coach. I ask questions all day. No doubt. It's hard to be on this side.
Absolutely. No, you can turn any question to me. I would say similar. I do what I do because I am in me is engaging people's minds and hearts. That's why I do what I do. I want to be, my wife, Amy, who you know, we are active and have been using the language of trying to vision and create what is the life that we want to create. And part of me and my weirdo exploration over the last now 12 years of writing books and speaking and consulting is around sharing ideas and connecting with leaders, teams, and organizations that help them enhance and add value to what they do by engaging their mind and heart in the work and how they lead and what is the culture they create and clarity around mission, vision, and values. So that's why I do what I do. But the ways in which people help is if that resonates with you, then to help share ideas, to help amplify messages, to help support things that add value to the engaging of people's minds and hearts. And so, I haven't always been the best at being able to straight out answer, hey, or say, go buy this thing. Because I think it's more than just a thing. I think it's about the spirit of this work. And as I've found and experienced firsthand, the more people then connect to the spirit of the work, that's what's worthy of being shared. And
it's a whole movement that you've created, right?
Absolutely. Because that's just what I didn't set out to build a business, even though I know it's become a business and it is a business and it's our livelihood, but that wasn't why I did what I did. And so what I wanted to do is engage people's minds and hearts and then help them be better at what it is they do and help us raise the bar on how we lead, the cultures we create, and our clarity around mission, vision, and values. And I'm absolutely privileged that I get to do that with many teams and organizations across the country and around the world. That's amazing.
It's a pretty fun gig that you've got.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Super fun. Yeah.
No doubt. Well, we're already at our time, but thank you for asking that question. That was you turned the tide on.
Well, I sincerely wanted to know. Yeah, so I can be thinking about it.
Well, I appreciate it. This is lovely. I could do it all day long, but I know our listeners, we are committed to a certain amount of time that we're doing for these podcasts. So if you want to know more, again, check out the show notes. You can learn more about Regan and everything that's happening. You'll see posts about Heart Boss and things that we will help amplify out into the world because the spirit of this is what I want to be about and part of sharing. Once again, I believe the future of leadership right now in the world is about bringing more of our heart and our mind to everything that we do. It's about redefining what does it even look like and mean to lead in the world and what role we all play in setting the temperature and creating culture with the people around us, with our teams, with our organizations, clarity around, well, what is the mission? Not only for my own life, like we've been talking about today, of kind of what is the mission and the vision for the life that you're trying to create? What are the values that are going to help be that compass or that thermostat that you're going to help calibrate in order to kind of set that temperature in everything that you do. And I'm more convinced of it than ever that the world needs all of us to be authentically us and to set that temperature with the people around us. And progress is going to be made when we're able to be real, to be authentic, and to lead and create cultures that bring out the best in people and in each other. So thank you for everybody that has been listening, that everybody that continues to join this. Regan, thank you for joining the podcast today. I really appreciate having you on.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned at Jason V. Barger on social media and all the other places that you'll see this. And again, if this is important to you and this resonates with you, I hope you'll help amplify it around the world. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using. And share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to your organization, or you have a question or comment about this podcast, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we all are ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.